When you think of the European theatre and the outbreak of World War II, most people will put the date on September 1st, 1939, for good reason, as it marked the official German invasion of Poland. Yet in the 1960s, some secret German documents were unearthed, and they detailed the phone conversation an Abwehr lieutenant had with his superior a week prior to the invasion of Poland. And it wasn't a happy conversation. The lieutenant participated in Poland's invasion, held a train station close to the Slovakian border, captured 40 Polish soldiers, and was requesting backup because his expeditionary force of 70 men faced a much larger Polish force. Instead of the expected acknowledgement of his successful campaign so far, his commander yelled at him to withdraw immediately and return to his military base. Because it was the early morning of August 26, 1 week before the official invasion of Poland, Lieutenant Hans-Albrecht Herzner and his 70 soldiers accidentally nearly started the Second World War, 1 week too early. Hans-Albrecht Herzner was a German Abwehr agent and a lieutenant in the army, commanding a 70-man strong expeditionary force stationed in the town of Chocka at the Slovakian-Polish border. Tensions between Germany and Poland had been rising for a while, and many of these units would participate in the invasion of Poland on September 1st, marking the beginning of the Second World War in Europe. And we would never know about Herzner's actions nearly starting the war 1 week earlier if it wasn't for some secret documents discovered in an archive 2 decades after the war ended. 1 week before Poland's official invasion, Herzner and his unit invaded Poland. They fought their way towards the strategically located train station in Moszty and the nearby tunnel situated in the so-called Jablunkov Pass. This mountain pass was located on the Slovakian-Polish border. The tunnel housed a single-track railway. The tunnel and railway were of especially strategic value because it was the shortest connection between Poland's capital, Warsaw, and Austria's capital, Vienna. The Polish military, understanding a German invasion was only a matter of time considering the increased hostilities over the past few months, decided to give the Germans a run for their money in case they did invade. As such, the Jablunkov tunnel was strapped with dynamite and other explosives for it to be destroyed in case of a German invasion. So, why did Herzner launch an invasion a week early? Well, it wasn't necessarily on purpose. Telephone communication back then was much more infrequent than it was nowadays, not to mention the fact that while on mission it was challenging to reach troops. Adolf Hitler's initial plan had been to launch Poland's invasion on August 26, but at the last minute he changed his mind when it became clear Great Britain and Poland signed a treaty promising mutual military support in case of war. The timeline was as follows. At 3 p.m. on August 25, Hitler ordered his generals to prepare for the invasion of Poland that night, but they cancelled the orders last minute at 7 p.m. that same day. German commanders notified their 2.5 million troops war would not yet break out. So, most of the German units preparing their invasion into Poland received their orders to stand down in time, but not Herzner. Stationed at Chocka in Slovakia, he never received the order because the unit was already on its way. During those initial evening hours, Herzner and his unit went on their way to carry out their part of the attack against Poland. About an hour after their departure, quietly trekking into Polish territory, unbeknownst to them, Hitler officially cancelled the mission. As they traversed the Tatra Mountains, any telephone and radio signal disappeared, which rendered Herzner's commander, Paul Reichelt, unable to contact him. After a few hours of marching, by this point past midnight, Herzner's troops reached the Jablunkov tunnel. They had to traverse it to reach the Moszty railway station. Approximately 40 Polish guards protected these objectives. Rapidly executing their planned operation, Herzner's men managed to overpower and capture all of the guards before they could sound the alarm. At least 5 Polish soldiers were killed within the tunnel before the railway station was overrun. Other sources indicate the Germans only managed to capture Moszty, but faced fierce resistance from soldiers at the tunnel. At any rate, one of the telegraphists within the railway station managed to evade capture. She alerted the Polish military while the Germans secured their positions and waited for reinforcements surely arriving any minute now. Meanwhile, Reichelt had dispatched several communication officers to Chocka, who notified him that the lieutenant wasn't there. The only logical conclusion was that he actually invaded Poland on his own. Reichelt made his way to Chocka as soon as possible, arriving there somewhere in the early morning hours of August 26. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Herzner was aware of the Jablunkov tunnel strapped with dynamite. He ordered a Polish train conductor to drive his locomotive through the tunnel to defuse the explosives. Before the train reached the tunnel, the Polish reinforcements arrived at the scene, vastly outnumbering the much smaller German unit. It was between 8 and 9 a.m. at this point. Over in Czarska, Reichelt received a telephone call from Herzner at around 10 a.m. The lieutenant declared he captured 40 Polish prisoners but required backup in order to fend off the more significant Polish force coming to their defense. Instead of the expected acknowledgement of his bravery, the report stated Reichelt informed Herzner that he postponed the war. He should withdraw from Poland as soon as possible and release all prisoners. When Herzner asked what he should do, Reichelt simply said he was on his own and should figure something out. Not too long after, a Polish locomotive crossed the Slovakian border, aboard were Herzner and his remaining troops. It was 1:30 p.m. Herzner's invasion lasted a bit over 12 hours and could have very well been the accidental early start of the war. One German soldier was killed and 2 more wounded. Statistics about Polish casualties aren't recorded anywhere, but eyewitness accounts mention at least 5 dead. In the aftermath, the German propaganda machine made Herzner out to be a rogue lieutenant. He supposedly coordinated the attack entirely on his own, not complying with direct orders from higher-ups. Clearly, the Poles didn't believe any of it, and when the Germans launched their actual invasion a week later, one of the first things the Polish military did was to blow up the Jablunkov tunnel. Thanks to the considerable damage, the tunnel was rendered out of use for 2 full years. And as for Hans-Albrecht Herzner, once the full-fledged war finally broke out, he was awarded the Iron Cross Second Class. When the Germans invaded Ukraine upon Operation Barbarossa's launch, Herzner was promoted to first lieutenant in the Ukrainian Nationalist Legion and briefly commanded the infamous Nightingale Battalion. During combat, he sustained critical injuries and passed away in September 1942. He was posthumously promoted to the rank of captain, and although the lieutenant nearly accidentally began the Second World War a week too early, the chaos certainly foreshadowed of what was to come. Thank you for watching this video. If there's a topic or event you would like to know more about, let me know your thoughts in a comment. I would also really like to thank all my patrons and channel members for their generous support. If you enjoy House of History and want to support my work, consider checking me out on Patreon or becoming a channel member. For just $1 a month, you will already gain access to the exclusive Patreon series. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.